So something that I've been wanting to bring to the channel now for a little while is my SARD Toyota Sora 1UZ. Some of you guys watching this will know the history on this car. I've had a build thread basically on this as an Instagram channel at Travis Revos, go check it out. 2 years into this, up to date, 3 weeks out from getting this to an MOT on the 8th of August. Rewind about 15 years ago, I first see this car down at a friend of a friend's. Basically, this was half in a bush at the time. It had a rear tarpaulin over the rear screen, because there was no rear screen here. Because this was on air, as factory was just dumped out on the ground, you literally couldn't move it anywhere because the air needed sorting out on it. The bramble bush was like half submerged into the car. It started growing down into the back of the seat. And it was a car that I just fell in love with instantly. So going back 2 years now, I've had this car 2 years. Basically, it was kind of like a last minute thing. This guy just rings me up out of the blue and it's basically at Trav. I'm quite keen on getting rid of the Sora now. I'm not going to do anything with it. It was so submerged in this bush, you could literally hardly see it. It was that bad. I've probably got a couple of friends here watching and laughing at this because the interior on this thing was so bad. It was probably the worst thing of the whole thing. I mean, the engine bay was really dirty and rusty, and obviously just had it. A lot of clips and pipes and all that needed replacing. There was a mouse nest in the V of the block. It was literally just full of snails. There was that many snail shells in there. It was like brimmed to the top of snail shells, bits of straw, bits of paper. So clearly some mouse had got in there, but luckily not touched any wires or any pipes. So me and another guy, we spent 2 full weekends digging this out of his grave, as to put it, and we hauled this thing back to the workshop where I got a chance to get a good look over this. One thing I'll never forget about this car is the ant's nest that was on this thing. It was colossal. Never ever seen anything like it. Went all the way through this door shut, along the step, up here, and the whole way along the scuttle panel. When I took the scuttle panel off, you could see like the inside of the ant's nest. It was so cool. As I just mentioned a minute ago as well, there's a tarpaulin across the rear screen. This bramble bush had gone inside the car. It had grown into the backs of the seats, through the carpet. I mean, this thing was literally like a greenhouse inside, and there was probably a good inch or two's worth of water on the floor pan, and don't even ask me how this thing wasn't rusty. Obviously the paintwork on this thing was absolutely shocking. The paint was just dead and gone. There was no salvaging that at all, so it's obviously a full repaint from the get-go. The engine was obviously a full strip apart and rebuild. All I've done though with the engine bay, believe it or not, I've just replaced hose clips, a few pipes, I've took it all apart, done all the gaskets, I've done an ARP head bolt stud conversion. I think the most expensive part on this build for me currently is the air ride. The air ride was shot to bits on this. It does come with air ride as factory. But yeah, I mean, it was just gone. There was no salvaging it at all. So it just worked out better that I put an aftermarket air ride kit on it. So it's now got a full Accuair E-level air kit on it, running D2 bags. And to be fair, it's probably a lot more usable. So I'm going to stop running on about this thing now. You guys have seen enough pictures and videos to get an idea how bad this thing was. I literally have a 3-week deadline as it stands. I've still got to paint a bumper, which I've got on a stand over there ready to go. I'm going to get that in paint today. I've got a massive bonnet that needs paint. It's like the biggest part of the car. I haven't touched it yet. Still got to finish up the air ride. This thing is booked in for an MOT on the 8th of August. And it's been accepted into a show on the 14th of August in Roll Hard. And then we're doing like a little pre-roll hard meet at Caffeine and Machine on the 13th, just to get together, be a nice little meet, get to know a few guys with the Soras who've been following this online as well. So I think enough chat. I need to crack on with this thing. I need to get this bumper in paint, I need to go and clear out the spray booth, and we need to get into this. I know what it was. I know what it was. Man, I've done my cars. Oh. I wonder if Tesco's have any jobs. Right, so the car obviously sat so long in a hedge. The guy that owned it, him and his friend, they never had a key for the ignition. So what they done was hotwired it. And what I think they've done is actually stripped the car out completely, took all the wiper things and all that off, and obviously thought they've plugged it all back in properly, because I pulled the wires out of the plugs really easy. And I just pushed them in and it took some pushing in, they clipped in really nicely. So I was like, maybe this is my problem. I've got both brake lights. Yeah. Oh mate, I'm so happy to see these lights on. Wow. Oh, I'm buzzing. Oh mate, I'm so happy right now. I can't even. Oh. I've had to get myself a new ECU for my air ride system. So I bought this system, I don't know, like, must have been getting on for 2 years ago now. Originally I bought the CVT Endo tank, which is a product of Accuair, and little did I know at the time, they're really prone to going wrong. Me and my friend John got it in, never got it working because it didn't work from straight out of the box. Jason, who I bought it from, kindly replaced it, although there's no warranty on it at all, kindly replaced it for the VT, which is a valve tank. So the CVT is compressor valve tank, VT is valve tank, just means air valves are inside the tank, so it just makes for a cleaner install. It's all run off of this thing, which is an ECU. Now, this is an old style ECU now, this is the R10. I think the R9 ECUs before this, I think they were all right. But these R10 ECUs are just prone for basically shitting themselves. And mine has. Unfortunately, I think this is memory locked, and how I know that, because when you get these systems installed, you have to calibrate them so they figure themselves out, like where they're at their highest, where they're at their lowest. And mine starts to calibrate itself, throws up a fault to say there's a fault within the valves, but it carries on calibrating, working all the valves. It's just there's a problem with the ECU. So, unfortunately for me, I can't send it back to Accuair. A couple of years ago, just after I bought the system, they went bust, so it avoids all the warranty. So I've had to now replace it with the new style ECU, which is this, the E+ Connect. It's quite fancy actually, all this lights up, so it's going to be really nice like mounting it in there. Bluetooth, you can go onto it via an app on your phone, which I've already downloaded, so I'll show you guys that in a minute, and you can run all the diagnostics on the system on there. It gives you all the faults, so it's just super easy to read. This old style ECU, like the controller would do like different sequence like flashing, and then you'd have to look up that sequence in the book for it to tell you what the problem is. So I'm hoping, fingers crossed, we can get this plugged in, get this on the floor, get this calibrated, and then I can show you guys on what I mean by the presets. ECU's plugged in, just aired it up, just waiting for the tank to pump up. We're literally now about to calibrate this thing. A little bit nervous. It's either going to be 400 quid wasted or 400 quid do well. The car should drop. What it was doing before is you'd hit the calibration setting, which is the 2 and the dot, you hold it down for 5 seconds, which is start of calibration. It would then drop the car, would lift up the front, and then it would throw up a fault. So it's already done more than it done previously. So on calibration, this fluctuates. You get like a flash in between 3 and 1, and I'm pretty sure once it's calibrated, it goes to a solid 2. Yeah. And then 1. And then that's dumped out, isn't it?
Yeah, hold it.
Yeah. Oh! So now the system is fully calibrated, I can go ahead and play around with these presets. Now, preset number 3, the bag should currently be at 90% full. Preset number 2 should be 50% full. preset number 1 should be 10% full, and then full dump. So you have to hold the button on full dump. The phone vibrates like 5 times. It's fully aired out. So as a standard factory calibration, these are the factory presets, and I am going to be changing these to my own desired ride heights eventually, but I'm just going to be leaving these for the time being. Well, I'm not going to get too involved in this right now because I need to go over this later. Literally, day's going on as well. Bonnet's currently in the spray booth, so I'm just going to switch all this off. Absolutely buzzing now. That's a massive weight off my shoulders that I haven't just ploughed in 400 quid on the ECU. And it hasn't calibrated, and it has, so well buzzing for that. So yeah, get it turned off, let's get in the booth, get some primer on this bonnet.
That's feeling a bit emotional now. I don't film this bit, alright?